Okay, so again, transcoding information from linear to nonlinear text and vice versa. Okay, from transcoding information from nonlinear to linear text. So again, this is quarter 2, module 7. Okay, lesson 2. So in the previous lesson, you have learned the salient features of linear and nonlinear text and the difference between the two. So understanding text is vital in our daily activities because it is only then can we give correct interpretation of the ideas presented from linear to nonlinear text and vice versa. So again, this lesson will help you learn and understand steps in translating and transcoding information. So again, in this lesson, you will learn how are you going to translate linear text to nonlinear, then nonlinear to linear text. So again, the module is divided into 2 lessons. So just like I said, so now we're going to proceed with lesson 2, which is transcoding information from linear to nonlinear text and vice versa. So most essential learning competency. So transcode information from linear to nonlinear text and vice versa. So after going through this module, you are expected to transcode information from linear to nonlinear text and vice versa. Okay, so after knowing and understanding the salient features of linear and nonlinear text, how did it help you in drawing and transcoding information? So again, after you had learned the difference between linear and nonlinear text last week or last meeting, so how did your learning from our discussion last week help you in drawing and transcoding informations? Okay, for example, from linear to nonlinear, then nonlinear to linear text. Because in some of our activities last week, so you were given a nonlinear text wherein you need to transcode it or give your interpretation, okay, with that linear text to linear text. Okay, so later I will be asking again this question. How did it help you in drawing and transcoding information? So the activity which you have just answered, okay, allows you to analyze and interpret data. So to challenge you more, discuss your answers to the following questions. So I will be showing later, okay, the activity wherein you're going to answer these questions. So here are some notes and tips on how to interpret text from linear to nonlinear and vice versa, nonlinear to linear text. Then use the answers you have from the previous activity and see if you have followed some of the tips listed below. Okay, so these are the steps for a simple nonlinear interpretation. So first, you read the title or label. So important thing to know in transcoding nonlinear to linear text. So first, you need to simply interpret the nonlinear text, the given nonlinear text. Okay, so first, you need to read the title or label. Second, pay attention to every information. Understand the scales of measurements used. Pay attention to the trends, increase, decrease table shown. Then write an overview or the main idea. Then write the key features. Then conclude by giving prediction or proposal based on the data gathered from the nonlinear text. Okay, so later I will be showing you how are you going to transcode the information from linear to nonlinear text. So as you watch a video clip later. Okay, then I will be showing also an example of nonlinear text wherein you're going to transcode it to linear text. So again, these are the steps for a simple nonlinear interpretation. So enable for you to interpret the nonlinear text, okay, if it is presented through graphs, tables, flowcharts, or organizers, okay, first thing to do is to read the title or label of that nonlinear text or that graph or flowcharts. Okay, then you should pay attention to every information given in the nonlinear text. Then you should follow the other steps in interpretation of nonlinear text. So next, tips on how to do the information transfer. So spend 5 minutes reading the graphs or charts, etc., or the organizers. So enable for you to come up with your good transcoding, okay, or transferring the information. For example, from nonlinear text, if you were given a graphs, okay, for you to transcode or transfer it to linear text. So first thing to do is to spend 5 minutes, at least 5 minutes. So reading the graphs or charts, including the data, okay, on those charts. Then make sure you understand access. Make sure you follow the lines on graph. Then focus on the key information. Compare if two graphic organizers are provided. Then think about the time period tenses. Okay, vary your vocabulary. Then organize information clearly. Then write neatly. So this is very important that you're going to write your information neatly. Okay, so let me show an example in how are you going to transcode. These are just tips, okay, for you to follow in transcoding information. But let me give an example in how are you going to transcode linear to nonlinear text. So did you see the presentation now?
Yes po.
Okay, so again, to deepen your understanding about the lesson, so about transcoding information. So as you see a while ago, I had given you some questions to answer. You will be answering that later. So after we had this non-linear example. So to deepen your understanding about the lesson, analyze and draw data from the pie chart below. So here, this is the pie chart, time use of working parents. Okay, so as I said in pie chart, in showing a pie chart, we also had the slices, show percentage of information. So here we have the other 2.5 hours. Okay, then next slide or slice rather, caring for family members, eating and drinking. So this would be the content of your pie chart. Household activities, leisure and sports, okay, working hours, then sleeping hours, so total of 24.0 hours. So this would be the nonlinear text. Then as you interpret it or transfer it to linear text, this could be like this. Working parents juggle tasks and manage their time wisely to never miss anything in a day. So here is a sample pie graph using the time used by parents to manage and balance work and family time. Okay, so let's answer these questions. About how much time a day do your parents spend on the activities listed on the pie chart? So again, based on the pie chart, working parents use how many hours? So look at the pie chart again. Again, about how much time a day do your parents spend on the activities listed on the pie chart? So again, based on the pie graph or pie chart, working parents use Kayas Manzano.
1.0 hours po.
Okay, so 5.9 hours in accomplishing family-related activities aside from work and rest. So here, now it's your turn to compare your parents' daily time activities to those listed in the pie chart. Second question, on which activities do your parents spend more time than the pie chart? So If you want, you can also take a photo of this pie chart, enable for you to answer the questions later given below. So time use of working parents. So you can take a photo of the sample pie chart or pie graph. So again, the interpretation of this pie chart, this is about the working parents juggle tasks and manage their time wisely to never miss anything in a day. So again, that would be the presented pie chart or pie graph to show the time used by parents, okay, enable for them to manage and balance their work and their family time. Okay, so again, it presented using the title Time Use of Working Parents. So have you take a photo of the pie chart? Okay, so let's proceed to the questions. Okay, on which activities do your parents spend more time than the pie graph? So again, please complete this statement. My parents spend more time on blank than the ones shown in the pie graph. What is the answer?
Ma'am Manzano po.
Ma'am Santos po.
Okay, yes, Manzano.
Working po.
Okay, spend time on working. So let's go back with the pie chart. Okay, so they spend 8 hours in working. Okay, so more than. Next, on which activities do they spend less time than the pie chart shows? My parents spend less time on blank than the ones shown in the pie graph. Yes, Lagasca.
Eating and drinking po.
Again.
Eating and drinking po.
Okay, so here, what is that?
Eating and drinking po.
Eating and.
Drinking po.
Okay, so is it eating and drinking?
Ma'am Manzano po.
Okay, Manzano.
Household activities po.
Okay, so based on the shown pie graph, it is household activities. That is 1.0 hour. Okay, so again, the parents is spending more time on working. So that is 8.0 hours. So based here on the pie chart. Okay, while their less time is for household activities, which is 1.0 hours. Okay, so again, this would be an example of transcoding information. So you can transcode the information through answering some questions or through linear text. Okay, so again, these are the questions given a while ago on the slides. So the activity which you have just answered allows you to analyze and interpret data. So to challenge you more, discuss your answers on the following questions. First question is, how did you come up with your answers in the activity? So how did you come up with your answers in the activity? So how did you answer the questions based on the given information? Yes, Joshua.
By looking at the pie chart po.
Okay, so that is okay. First thing to do, so enable for you to answer the questions and to do the activity. So first thing is to study, okay, and read the data given in the pie graph or pie chart. So as you remember the tips shown to you a while ago, so first thing to do for you to transcode the information from linear to nonlinear text or vice versa, nonlinear to linear text, first thing to do is to read and analyze, okay, the data given in graphs, flowcharts, or organizers. So for you to answer questions, how do you interpret graphs, tables, and charts? How did you interpret? So enable for you to answer the questions, how did you interpret the data from graphs, tables, and charts? So here we have chart or the pie chart. Hello?
Hello po.
Okay, so again, how do you interpret the graphs, tables, and charts? So here, you were given in your activity, you were given a graph. So here, how did you interpret? So again, Joshua.
By presenting the data, by presenting the data on the charts, tables, and graphs po.
Okay, by presenting the data. So if you had the data, or rather if you had the graphs, okay, flow charts or organizers, you already included the data there. That's why by having that nonlinear text or by having those graphs or charts, okay, you can definitely answer some questions, okay, because the data was already there. Okay, so just like the examples given to you a while ago, okay, before I give the questions here, so here, on which activities do your parents spend more time than the pie graph shows? So here, in able for you to answer this statement, you need to look again for the given pie graph. So as I said, in nonlinear text, the data was already given, okay, through graphs, okay, through charts or tables. So it is easy for you to identify or interpret the nonlinear text because the data was already given here. Okay, so you can interpret that through linear text, okay, by answering some questions or some statements. Okay, so let's have another example. So here, recreation. So the pie shows the family distribution of expenses in a month. Okay, most of the expenses go to food, which takes 35% of the whole budget. So 21 goes to, or 21% goes to children's education. So you can also take a photo of this example. Clothing takes 15% and both medicine and shelter take 12% respectively. So the remaining 5% is allotted for the family's recreational activities. So again, we have another example of pie chart here. Okay, so on that given example, can you now interpret using linear text? Can you please interpret this non-linear text to linear text? So you can also follow the instructions here or the examples that you had in the first activity. So in interpreting or transcoding information, okay, from nonlinear text. Okay, so this is the example. So again, the pie shows the family distribution of expenses in a month. Most of the expenses go to food, which takes 35% of the whole budget. Okay, then 25% goes to children's education. Clothing takes 15%. So again, this would be the interpretation or transcoding of information from linear to nonlinear text. Or for example, if you were given a nonlinear interpretation, you're going to transcode it or interpret it using any kind of nonlinear text. It could be this kind of pie chart or it could be in a table, okay, or organizer. So you can transcode or interpret that, okay, using any examples of nonlinear text. Okay, so through graphs, charts, flow charts, okay, could be a diagram. Okay, so again, enable for you to transcode information from nonlinear to nonlinear text. So this would be the example. Okay, so it is easy for you to transcode if the data in the nonlinear text was already given. Okay, so you can also visit the source of this text. Okay, so again, that would be an example of transcoding or interpreting data from the text. So aside from that, I will be showing you, okay, a video clip showing how are you going to transcode information from linear to nonlinear text. So did you see the video now?
Yes, ma'am.
Po.
Yes?
Apa.
How to transcode linear to non-linear text. There are certain steps to follow in transcoding linear to non-linear text. Step 1. Read the text and main idea. Step 2. Extract necessary information for the visual presentation. Step 3. Classify information into categories. And step 4. Make sure to use the correct nonlinear text to present the information. Let's have an example. Step 1. Read the text and identify the main idea. On saving. As a young teen, Reese does not enjoy as much as the other teenagers would. Her weekends are spent on looking for work so she can earn her allowance. She spends 200 pesos a week, 100 pesos for her lunch, 80 pesos for her fare, and 20 pesos for classroom juice. Now, what is the main idea? The text is about? Correct. Riz spends 200 pesos a week. Step 2. Extract necessary information for the visual presentation. Where does Riz spend her 200 pesos per week? The necessary information are 100 pesos for her lunch, 80 pesos for her fare, and 20 pesos for classroom juice. Step 3. Classify information into categories. We may think for a title. It can be about expenses of Riz per week, and her budget is 200 pesos. Now, let's classify the given information. We identified 100 pesos for her lunch, 80 pesos for her fare, and 20 pesos for classroom juice. Step 4. Make sure to use the correct nonlinear text to present the information. In this case, the most appropriate nonlinear text to be used is a circle graph. Very good. First, let us change the given data to percentage. 100 is what percent of 200? 80 is what percent of 200? 20 is what percent of 200? Here is our computation. 100 divided by 200 and times 100 equals 50. And since we're talking about percentage, the answer will be 50%. 80 divided by 200 times 100 equals 40 or 40%. 20 divided by 200 times 100 equals 10 or 10%. Now, let us put the data and transcode the linear text to nonlinear text. We will be using the circle graph. Here it is. The title is Riz Expenses per Week. Riz spent 50% of her allowance for her lunch, 40% of her allowance for her fare, and 10% for her allowance for classroom dues. Do you understand? Let's try another one. Reese earns more than what she needs for the week. On Saturdays, her routine would be to go to a distant relative and wash clothes for a small earning of 100 pesos. In the afternoon, she volunteers weeding at a neighbor's garden for an hour. and gratefully receives 50 pesos for the work extended. On Sunday after lunch, she would iron out her teacher's uniform for a fee of 100 pesos. Despite her weekend routine, she remains to be one of the smartest in class. Now, I want you to transcode this linear text to nonlinear text. If you follow the 4 steps in transcoding linear to nonlinear text, this will be your possible answer. The title will be Riz Earnings During Weekend. Here, we're going to use bar graph. The data shows that in washing clothes, Riz earns 100 pesos. In weeding, Riz earns 50 pesos. And for ironing her teacher's uniform, Riz earns 100 pesos. Now, let's have the steps in transcoding nonlinear to linear text. Step 1. Interpret the data presented in the graph. Step 2. Write an overview or main idea. Create a scenario. Step 3. Write the key features and enumerate the data in linear text. Step 4. Describe the given graph by using appropriate words or phrases. Let's perform steps 1 and 2. Here, we have the data presented using the circle graph. Our interpretation may be the graph shows different activities and the percentage of hours spent in doing each task. Now, we have to write an overview or main idea, or you may create a scenario. Let's have a name, a person whom we are going to talk about in this data. Main idea. Rico spends 10 hours a day doing the following activities shown in the pie graph. It's up to you if how many hours are you going to use. In this example, I prefer 10 hours. To get the number of hours spent in each activity, multiply the total number of hours by the given percent. First, let us change the given percent to decimal numbers. 10 hours times 0.30 equals 3 hours. 10 hours times 0.35 equals 3.5 hours or 3.5 hours. 10 hours times 0.10 equals 1 hour. 10 hours times 0.20 equals 2 hours. And 10 hours times 0.05 equals half hour. Total is 10 hours. Step 3. Write the key features and enumerate the data in linear text. Here are the key features. Rico spends 3 hours in reading books, 3.5 hours in watching TV, 1 hour in playing games, 2 hours in listening to music, and half hour in doing fitness exercises. Last step. Describe the given graph by using appropriate words or phrases. This time, you're going to transcode the nonlinear text to linear text based on the data that you gathered presented in this circle graph. After knowing the steps in transcoding linear to nonlinear text and vice versa, this time I want you to try this. The table
Okay, so in that video, it gives us different steps in how are you going to transcode linear to nonlinear text or vice versa, nonlinear to linear text. Okay, because it's already 9:30, we're going to continue our discussion. So please remember the information that you got from the video clip that you had watched. So we're going to have it one by one. So we're going to explain it one by one, transcoding information, okay, from linear to nonlinear text or nonlinear to linear text next week. So you will be given an activity, okay, wherein you are going to transcode linear to nonlinear text, okay, or vice versa next week. Okay, but I will be uploading some of your activities in our G class during asynchronous time later. Okay, so any clarifications?
None
No.
po.
So as I said, we're going to continue our discussion because our main focus for today is for your summative test and have an introduction, okay, about lesson 2 today. But we're going to continue our discussion, okay, and you are going to apply it also next week, transcoding information, okay, from linear to nonlinear or vice versa. Okay, so if there is no clarifications, so I think you can leave our meet now so you can have your 30-minute health break, okay, before I upload some of your activities in our G class. So don't worry, this is only for linear and nonlinear text. Some activities about linear and nonlinear text. The activities for transcoding information from linear to nonlinear text or vice versa will be given next week because we are going to continue our discussion in how are you going to transcode informations. So again, the activities that I'm going to upload in RG class are the activities with lesson 1. Okay, your activities for this lesson 2 would be uploaded next week because we're going to continue our discussion. Okay, so if there is no clarification, yes, Erica?
Wala po, ma'am. Na-open ko lang po.
Okay. So for that, so thank you for attending our class. So I
Yes.
don't know. Okay, so I don't know. I can't open my cam. So a while ago, if you noticed, so I had my cam. Okay, but now I don't know what's the problem when I disconnected a while ago. Okay, so you will be seeing again only my background. I don't know what happened with Gmeet. Okay, so again, thank you for attending our class.
Thank you po.
Bye po,
Okay,
ma'am.
so see you